Welcome back to the Happiness Habits Talks vlog series that we're doing a deep dive through the 9 pillars of happiness as featured by the Happiness Habits 613 community. My name is Sarah Atkinson, and I am a yoga tune-up teacher, yoga teacher, Thai masseuse, somatic sex educator, and an ecstatic goddess. I go by she or they, and I live in the unceded territory of the Anishinaabe, Algonquin, Wendat peoples, also known as Ottawa.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi, everyone. Your friendly co-host here, Renee Michaud, she, her, also on unceded Anishinaabe territory, also known as Chelsea in Quebec. And I am a coach to creatives as well as a creative entrepreneur and artist. And we are thrilled to be joined by Tammy Robinson, formally known as Tamara Robinson. And she is a registered holistic nutritionist. Tammy, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Um, I'm happy to be here today. Excited to talk about nutrition.
Yeah, I know I really am as well. And nutrition has been a big part of my happiness journey. So maybe you can share with us a little bit of why you're excited to talk about nutrition with us.
Well, I'm excited to talk about nutrition with everybody because it's been a passion of mine for a very long time. I realized probably 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago, the importance of what we put in our body and how it makes us feel and the effects it has on us today, tomorrow, and in our future. So, if we're eating healthy foods, we're going to live a long, healthy life. Um, my journey began, I guess, my first calling in nutrition was my daughter was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at age 7. So that was a huge awakening for us, my family. I thought we ate well, but I became, I was more into looking into what we were putting in our bodies, especially my daughter, as to maintain her blood sugar. And so that's when was my first interest. I started reading labels and making meals that I thought would help sustain her blood, keep her blood sugar levels more on keel. And not just to make her feel better today, but it also became a deep passion of mine was looking into the future always. I wanted her to still be healthy, not just at 10 years old, but at 20, at 30, at 40. So that was my first calling. And then I had my own health issues. I experienced some trauma after that. And I was diagnosed with something similar to PTSD, where I suffered from anxiety, depression, and panic attacks. And the traditional medicine, all they wanted to do was put me on antidepressants. And I was like, no, thank you. I want to get to the root of this, and did more research on that. And I came up with would not recommend to everybody, but I went to extreme and I did raw food diet. And I had the symptoms I was experiencing at that time was anxiety. I had migraines, and it helped. It cured that problem. But because I had excluded some food groups along the way, a couple of years later, I developed other symptoms. And it was at that time, I thought, I really loved nutrition and I loved how it made me feel. And my daughter has been thriving. So I thought, hey, I want to go back to school. And I was looking for a career change anyways. I'm an accountant by trade. And I didn't know what it was I wanted to do. And then one day it just hit me. I woke up. It's like, I want to do something in this field. So then I spent many years deciding which area to go. Do I want to be a diet? Do I want to go to university and get into the science, be a dietitian? And then I explored the holistic nutrition route. And I chose holistic nutrition because it's what resonated with me. Holistic nutrition is all about the person. You're looking at a person as a whole unit. You're looking at their mind, their body, and their spirit, not just their health and their symptom at that time. You're diving deep into underlying, like layers and layers as to why they're feeling a certain way. Then you're customizing individual food programs and supplement programs to meet those specific needs. And as a person changes, obviously the needs will change as well. So that was why I chose holistic nutrition.
Beautiful to see that you've made a vocation out of nutrition.
Yes. So I'm still in the transition. I would like to. I'm an accountant still by trade. I do the nutrition part time. I'm working to flip that so I can hope eventually one day just focus in on nutrition.
That's what often happens with vocations. You know, we get into them because there's, like you mentioned, your daughter's calling to health and then your own personal calling to health. And then you realize that the impact that you can make with this reaches like far beyond just you. There can be a legacy of health that you provide for
Yes.
clients. And it becomes so infectious that other jobs that we have to, it's like, how can I do this? Actually, this other thing,
Exactly.
how
How
can
do
I
you do
do it
this
more
thing?
frequently?
I don't want to do this job anymore. Yes. It's me
Absolutely.
paying
Thank you
my
for
bills,
sharing.
basically.
I'm really curious if you can give us your definition of what it means to be healthy.
Well, to me, to be healthy is to have a life of disease free, and being able to, yeah, basically being disease free, and longevity, being able to do the things that you want to do that you're doing
Mm.
now when you're older, both, and being healthy both mentally and physically, not, basically disease free and happy.
I love that, the longevity
Yeah,
and that word dis-ease. It's that there is a lack of ease within us. So that can show up in so many different ways. So
right.
without it, that is really a beautiful, healthy living. Thank you.
Mhm.
And Tammy, what are nutrition healthy habits?
Good. That's a good point. Nutrition, healthy habits, in my opinion. I mean, it could vary, but is eating a well-balanced diet that includes all our food groups. That would be our proteins, our carbohydrates, our fibers, um, and so that would be number one, is eating a well-balanced diet with all the food groups. Number two would be exercise. Exercise and food go hand in hand. You need the exercise to help digest the food and excrete all the toxins that are in your body. So you want to put good things out, but you want to get rid of eliminate the things that aren't so good. So exercise is also key. Good sleep. Sleep is very important, very underrated. You need good sleep to repair, so your body can heal, all your cells regenerate. Your body does wonderful things while you're sleeping. So sleep is very important. And I guess the fourth one would be hydration, is making sure that you get enough to drink. A lot of people don't think of that. You need your water, your hydration to keep to cleanse your body.
Right, our bodies are what percentage of water again? It's like
Yeah, I know,
70
high percentage. Yeah.
something. So yeah, without proper hydration, that really is like, I think of that analogy of an old dried out kitchen sponge versus a really healthy plush, and thinking of every cell in our being
That's right.
needing that new
Yeah,
fluid.
exactly. And something so simple to do.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, you say that, yet there are many communities even within Canada that don't have access to
well,
clean
yes, I'm
drinking
sorry.
water. So just as like a side note,
That's
I'm really curious for you to bring up with us the difference between what people might know as a diet versus the idea of a health plan.
okay.
Yeah.
A diet typically is something that's out there, and it's a fad, right? It's going for,
Mm.
you want to be slim, or you want to do this. And with most diets, if you were to look into them, they eliminate certain foods that they tell you you cannot have, for whatever reason, for whatever it is. Whereas a meal plan always includes all your food groups, and you're not excluding anything. You're allowed to have your treats, and to me, that's the difference. It's customized, and there's no elimination. No elimination. That's basically the difference.
Mm. I have just a little short personal anecdote around. I was working at a yoga center, the Salt Spring Center of Yoga, and they taught me how to make a vegan mayonnaise. And the center head walked by, and I mentioned to him, "Oh my gosh, a mayonnaise I can finally eat guilt-free." And his response back to me was, "Why would you eat anything with guilt?"
Exactly.
And that like profoundly changed forevermore when I thought of it. Dieting versus healthy is, it's also the mentality that I'm using when I'm eating these things as well.
Absolutely. There's no such thing as an unhealthy food. It's what,
Yeah.
no, truly there isn't. You
Yeah.
can't, no, yeah, it's whether it has, I look at it when I'm looking at my food, is what nutrients it has. Does it have a lot of nutrients? Does it not have as many nutrients?
Right.
So when I'm making choices, that's generally how I will judge it.
Mm.
And you mentioned earlier, Tammy, a balanced diet. You mentioned fiber, protein, carbohydrates. Can you tell us a bit more about that mix and combination and what those things are?
Okay, yeah, well, your proteins are, they're the building blocks, right? They build muscle, they build tissues. Your carbohydrates are, and your fats are, that's where we get our energy. Our cells get our energy and rejuvenate. And the fiber is what we need to help. We do not digest fiber at all. Fiber is used to actually eliminate everything from our body.
Okay, it's like a catch-all of like help things to pass through your system.
You got it. That's
Okay.
that's just a short, in a nutshell version of what the food groups are.
So, Sammy, what would you say then that the standard Canadian diet is lacking? How is it off balance, would you say, in general?
One thing I must say is that the Canada Food Guide that was the latest one that was released is actually pretty good. Now, I don't know how many Canadians actually look at or follow the food guide. But what I see with clients that they're lacking is probably they're not getting enough, they're lacking in some form of nutrients. So they're not getting all the food groups that they should be getting, or their body isn't processing it and they need more supplements. Like a typical Western diet, I don't know, maybe it's more American. There's a lot of fast foods, a lot of convenience foods. It could be the same in Canada, whereby people are just buying, ready-made processed meals, which are high in sodium and low in nutrients. So that would be an issue. And so my advice there is basically to buy foods in their most natural form, eat as many whole foods as possible. And local and seasonal. Seasonal is actually very important as well.
Absolutely. There's seasonal diets. And then I've even heard as far as people do like 100-mile diets, that's something that's within the Ottawa Valley.
Right.
I don't know if people have looked out, but like even buying locally sourced meat, vegetables, food boxes that can exist, like or even having your own community garden space and eating what's available to grow in season.
Yeah, because our genes are genetically can handle where our environment that we live in. And that's how we thrive the best. So getting foods that are coming from overseas may not necessarily have the same impact to a Canadian as they would to a person living in the Caribbean or Africa. Because, we're living here, our genes are receptive to, different types of the foods that grow in our environment.
You spoke a little bit earlier about some of the benefits of regular healthy eating, and also a little bit about how nutrition within the 9 pillars of happiness really contributes. I'm wondering if you can tell me about like that benefit of keeping this as habitual and the longevity of practicing these patterns of healthy eating, what that looks like.
Yeah, the benefits of healthy eating. Well, the number one is disease prevention, such as, it will help lower your blood sugar, stabilize your blood sugar, increase your energy level, and it will improve your sleep. It'll help with mood disorders, such as anxiety, headaches, migraines. So those are some of as well as, I guess, lifespan, right? It'll increase your lifespan to have a longer, happier, healthy life where you're actually out doing things. The places where I always refer to that do this, there's blue zones in the world where there are people in these pockets around the world. I think there's a pocket in Japan, Costa Rica, Greece, in California, and there's other parts of the world where people live into their hundreds.
Oh yes, I've heard of this. There was the documentary that Zac Efron did in Sicily or something.
They live into their hundreds, but they live into their hundreds and they're healthy. They're out there, doing things every day. Like they're probably like in their 60s in North America, and they're living to 100. What's one thing like that? There's many things that contribute to that, but one big thing is their diet, right? They have a diet of whole foods and they eat within their environment. As well as, that I mean, for me, but there's more, but as a nutritionist, I look at that. So there's something to be said. Like I go, I can tell you, to eat this and eat all these whole foods, but the proof in the pudding is these places in the world where they don't have the conveniences, they don't have all the chemicals and processed foods that we have.
And since we're talking about food and health and nutrition and happiness,
Yeah.
What's your happy meal? Your happy.
Well, that changes, I guess, probably seasonally. And right now, because the colder weather's coming, and I'm looking more towards comfort foods. And right now, a quick favorite of mine, it's actually a really quick meal. It's sweet potatoes with, I just bake them in the oven with black beans and guacamole. It has all my food groups and it is delicious. I mean, I also like a lot of stews. I do lentil stew. I do lots of lentil soups and stews as well at this time of year. In the summer, ask me and it will be like all the vegetables, right, that I'm wanting. So, yeah.
Like that sounds consideration there. Sarah, do you have one right now that's like a happy go-to?
Yeah, I definitely agree with the going into fall, a lot more like roasted veggies. I guess it is that draw to like seasonal things. So recently I went to a friend's house and we harvested some Jerusalem artichokes or sunchokes. They are the root of the sunflower and also known as fartichokes. So if you do happen to make them, remember that you'll be passing some gas for some days. But you can eat them in a multitude of ways. So I got like 3 pounds of them. I cut them up, roasted them with some thyme, and then blended one as a vegetarian soup with some bouillon. One I roasted in bacon fat and had my turkey stock left over. And then I just ate some raw roasted was on its own. And that was delicious. So that
sounds fabulous. Yeah.
My fall go-to. What about you, Renee?
Yeah, I would say I'm definitely roasting veggies more than I have before. Things like turnip that I don't always cook with. I'll just like fries and then I'll put on
me too.
Garam masala and olive oil, put that in the oven and it's like
it's quick and it's so delicious.
I'm really hungry now.
This is exciting. Vegetables in to bake any of the root vegetables, and I like to put them on arugula lettuce. Actually, I like the bitter
peppery. Yeah, peppery greens. Those are I love eating raw greens out of my garden.
Yeah, absolutely.
On this note, when we're talking about like making these health plans for ourselves, looking seasonally, what are some ways that people can be conscious of eating healthy on a budget? A lot of us right now are in some struggling financial times. Yeah. And so, what are things that are accessible to people that is kind of low budget?
That's a great question. One of the recommendations I would make is for someone is to make a meal, like make a list of groceries or make a meal plan for that week. And then base your groceries upon that, upon their budget, and go out and buy just those groceries, nothing extra. With groceries I'm talking groceries around the perimeter of the grocery store that are a bit more nutrient dense, and less of the prepared meals. Doing things and buying more ingredients that are whole and fresh. Less ingredients that are, less food that is in boxes and tins, and ultimately making your own staple foods, like your tomato sauces. Like when you're out shopping and something's in season, like your tomatoes, you stock up on them and you make sauces and you put them in the freezer for later, so you have them. So even with your fruits and your any of fruits and vegetables, buy them when they're cheap, and make preservatives for the seasons that they're not. Also, I try to buy I'll buy, let's say I buy a chicken. I look at ways where I can use that in multiple meals. So I'll make a roast chicken for dinner one night, and then I'll take the bones and I'll make a bone broth and make a vegetable soup. So being, looking at what you're buying and trying to use it in a couple of different recipes. I would also say buying seasonally, because things tend to be a little less expensive when you're buying things local and in season. You could try farmers markets if you wanted, or if you have the space, you could grow your own vegetables, which is a huge savings, and have your own garden. Other ways, let me see, would be to sometimes, maybe fresh isn't always the best way, but, you could buy frozen and you could use frozen vegetables. It's still vegetables and fruit. Um, and yeah.
Sounds like cooking in
It's,
general.
it does sound like it is work. Absolutely. It's not work, but it's a lifestyle change. But as I say, if you're organized and you plan your meals and you go out, get your groceries, and you spend like a Sunday afternoon, that's your day to do your food. You go get your groceries, you come home, and you prep for the week, right? You make a couple meals ahead, so you're not always cooking. So the days that you're not cooking, you have meals that are quick and easy. Like you can get quick and easy recipes that are healthy as well.
Yeah.
That don't take a lot of time.
I've also found for myself that when I do those meal preps, let's say I'm making a vegetarian chili or something, I'm actually going to make a little extra so that the frozen meals I'm grabbing are my own rather than some pre-made or processed food.
Yeah.
It is still frozen at that point, but I like to think that it's like past self thinking of my future self.
Yes. Yeah.
And also cooking, I think, is a great practice. You get closer to your ingredients, you appreciate the food more, you understand where it comes from, you can community. Like there's so many benefits to investing time in cooking. And a lot of
Absolutely.
lost that connection.
Yeah. Then go on grocery shopping, the whole process you get excited about. Like I get excited when I go to the grocery store and I look at my cart and I just see all the healthy food that I'm going to be putting into my body. That excites me. And
I can feel your excitement.
and make food out of it. It's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. That abundance. Tammy, how does nutrition look different during the pandemic?
I think it looks different because it's become more important to people. People are recognizing nutrition. They're home, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. People were home and having to go get groceries and cooking at home, things that they didn't do because for a while there we weren't eating out at restaurants. And I think there was a surge of people cooking. One of the proof is that I guess with the gardening this summer, like the seeds that we ran out of seeds and it was hard to find. So people were, taking notice, whether or not they enjoyed it and they missed their conveniences. I don't know, but I think it did have an impact on how people were eating temporarily. Also, I think nutrition, it is something that just by what's going on and as a health concern and people's wanting to boost their immune system, it's gotten more focused, people wanting to eat healthier options to stay healthy as to not get sick. I think that was another way that the pandemic could have impacted or is impacting how we eat. People are looking for healthier options. And diet is one thing that we have control over. So just from that perspective, it's a comforting in the sense that when you're eating healthy foods, you're doing something good. It's just, it's almost like self-care, self-love, and it's something that we need at this time.
Absolutely. You spoke a little bit about earlier disease prevention, and then right now with the concept of COVID, I guess, is immune boosting. So even
Right.
that sort of one step further is I don't just want to prevent the normal human diseases that befall us with our nutrition plans that exist within Canada and what's available, but especially in the lens of we know that there is disease or virus present. So the things that we can do for ourselves and that accountability, responsibility.
Yes.
On that note, I wonder, maybe given that current context, what do you think are some of the barriers that people may be experiencing during COVID to get to nutritious habits and creating these health plans for themselves?
I think some of the barriers are they just don't know where to start. You go on the internet, there's so much information out there. You know that they tell you one website will tell you to do this, the other one will tell you to do the opposite.
Right, Dr. Google.
Exactly. Also, I think not only that, people think it's going to be expensive, and it's going to cost too much. And then there's the time. It's going to take up too much time. It's too time consuming. I think those are some of the barriers that people face.
How can they overcome that? Those beliefs, are those real? Are those false? What are your thoughts?
I think they're false. I think people, I, it's, we talked a bit about, I guess, shopping on a budget. I do believe you can do it. It may be a little bit more expensive than some of the other options at buying some of the the processed foods. But when you put all your budget into the healthy foods and you don't buy any of the tin foods and you do some of the things that I had suggested, like buying in bulk when things are on sale, and making some of your own staple foods to have. I don't think I think it's not a barrier. I think finding the information is or where to go. And again, my starting point for somebody would be to look at the Canada Food Guide, because right now it's actually pretty good as to tell you what we should be eating. And if you go from there, you can go Google recipes. And yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing on that. I know that this concept may be, like you mentioned, with things being too expensive, perhaps on your week-to-week budget, if you compare one grocery cart and another, one that's prepared foods and one that's whole foods, you might end up spending a little bit more here. But when you think of the longevity of, if I'm going to have to pay for disease later, either with money, with time, with healing, I see a lot of value personally in shifting maybe my grocery budget to have more spaciousness and maybe spend less on Netflix or going out and buying prepared foods or going to a restaurant. Like it's about changing that mindset perhaps of thinking, what is the cost? Is it a short-term cost or is it a long-term cost potentially? Absolutely. Am I willing to give more to my budget?
It's your health, right? It's your life. So, that's how. Yeah, that is absolutely a great way of looking at it.
It's a foundation of happiness and of good health and well-being, and that's what we're here to do. So, what about fasting, Tammy? What can you tell us about the risks and benefits?
There are many benefits to fasting. Fasting is been proven to do many great things. The best thing is that when you are fasting, we haven't gotten into this. Your body uses a lot of energy when you're digesting food. So when your body's not digesting food, your body is can actually restore itself right down to the cellular level. It goes into the cells. It replaces all the dead cells or the sick cells. It will eliminate them. Fasting. Also, it's great for, maintaining, stable blood sugar. It lowers your cholesterol. It helps with, if you were wanting weight loss, it actually helps with that. There are many benefits to fasting.
There's so many different styles as well that you found over, like, looking at perhaps your body type, your digestive type. Do you fast in the morning? Do you fast for long periods of the evening? Are people daily fasting, or is it intermittent, as I've heard?
Yes, there are a lot of fasts, right? You could do a fast for 3 days, or I would recommend not doing it any longer than 3 days without medical help. But yes, you could do it for a day, once a week. I mean, that's a personal choice. Intermittent fasting is wonderful. That basically you can do that every day. You could do it a couple times a week. Basically what you're doing is you're just giving your body more than 12 hours before you eat again. So let's say you had dinner at 5 o'clock, try and go the next day, till maybe, if you can, till lunchtime, if not till 10 o'clock the next day before you put food in your mouth. You'll still get the same benefits as if you were fasting for a week at a time. If you have that in your regimen, like, let's say once a week, 1 day a week, even, to give your body a chance to heal. The downside to fasting is it's not good, obviously, for somebody that has low blood sugar, diabetes. I would never recommend a fast, or anybody that's on certain medications or does have some health issues. So, you might want to, before considering it, make sure that, check with your doctor that you are okay to fast. I wouldn't just tell anybody to go fast.
Yeah.
Unless they're healthy enough to that thus they're going to get benefits from it.
Right.
Sure. So, for people who want to find out more about nutrition and your expertise, it sounds like you're putting on an event.
Yes.
Tell us a bit
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, well, my area is hormonal imbalances and mood disorders. So for December, I thought since winter's coming and we're in a period of I'm not sure what kind of period we're in.
Collective grieving and constant stress.
Yeah, exactly. I thought I would do something on what we eat affects how we feel, food and mood, and foods to eat to improve your mood and to balance your hormones.
And when is that event? I think it's
I think I'm doing it on December 5th at noon.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for that offering. I definitely will be tuning in. I think we'll be having it on Zoom, and the link will be below the show notes.
Okay, perfect.
For anyone
and how
to you before then, how can they find out what you're doing, connect with you? What's the best way?
I'm on Instagram. Under my Instagram handle is Tammy Nutrition. They can reach me. I have an email. It is tammynutrition2020@gmail.com. And I'm also on Facebook as Tamara Robinson.
Perfect. We can find out.
Thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge and the community event that you're going to be offering. This conversation has been so helpful to me personally. I know my journey to happiness has I've been forced to look at my nutrition. And so anyone who may be struggling with mood right now, with things, know that there are a wealth of resources out there before there's not just one solution. It's a multifaceted solution to come to.
Yeah, and there's one thing I just wanted to add with nutrition.
Yeah.
As a nutritionist, I don't just look at food, right? I do look at lifestyle, and we didn't touch upon this, but stress. I always assess somebody's stress level, because you could be eating healthy and have high stress, and you're not going to get the benefits from your food if you have a high stress, because your body is not going to be able to digest and absorb those nutrients. So along with the food, I do look at the stress, and I do look at activity, exercise, because as I say, you need exercise as well to help you eliminate the toxins, and boost your immune system.
It is so powerful, more than ever, to think of ourselves as holistic beings. So thank you for that kind of wrapping things up to remind ourselves that it is the multifaceted.
It's a package.
Thank you so much, Tamara, for today.
That you're going over, you're covering them all in these talks. So this is great.
Pillars. Oh yeah, they're all interconnected, and that's
they all are interconnected. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks, Tammy, for your expertise. This has been really, really valuable.
Yeah, thank you.
Sarah, where can about our next talk and events?
Yes,
absolutely. Yes. So we're going to continue to be present on YouTube. We've got Happiness Habit 613 available on Instagram and on Facebook. Those are the same handles throughout. And next week, we'll be featuring social investment with Pamela French.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you.
Have a happy day.
Thank you.